You open your eyes in the middle of nowhere. No roads, no car, no phone. Just grass, sky, and your own 2 feet. That was travel for almost all of human history. For 300,000 years, every trip a person ever took happened at walking speed. That one fact shaped where people lived, who they met, and how far their world reached. Start with your body. You're not fast. A cheetah hits 70 miles an hour. A horse holds 30. You max out around 15 for a few seconds before you're gasping. But speed was never the point. You can walk 20 miles today and do it again tomorrow and the next day for weeks. Almost nothing else on Earth can do that. Your feet have natural springs built in. Your Achilles tendon stores energy and gives it back with every step. 2 million sweat glands keep you cool while other big animals overheat and stop. You weren't built for sprint. You were built to never quit. In 1978, researcher Mary Leakey found footprints in Tanzania pressed into ash 3.6 million years old. 2 people walking upright, side by side. They look almost exactly like yours. For millions of years, walking was the entire system, and it carried humans further than any other species has ever gone. Around 70,000 years ago, people started drifting out of Africa. Not one big journey, thousands of years, one generation going a little further than the last. Middle East, Asia, Europe, Siberia, across a frozen bridge into Alaska, then south through the Americas. 15,000 miles with no idea what was at the end. And this wasn't random wandering. Archaeologists have found volcanic glass tools hundreds of miles from where that stone forms. Shells found deep inland. Amber traded across mountain ranges. People were covering huge distances on purpose to trade, to connect, to reach resources they already knew about. But walking has one weakness: water. For hundreds of thousands of years, a river or a strait was basically a wall. Then humans did something no other land animal has ever done. They crossed water on purpose. In 2003, tools turned up on the island of Flores in Indonesia, dated to 800,000 years old. Flores was never connected to the mainland, not even 12 miles of open ocean at the lowest point. Someone made that crossing. We don't know how. Wood rots, reeds decay, but the tools are proof it happened. The first boats probably weren't invented, they were noticed. A floating log, a lucky grab instead of a drowning. What came next was deliberate. About 65,000 years ago, people crossed from Southeast Asia to Australia, over 60 miles of open sea with no land in sight the whole way. Someone built something that could float, pointed it at empty horizon, and paddled toward a place they'd never seen. Later, the Polynesians took it further. Starting 3,000 years ago, they crossed the Pacific, the biggest ocean on the planet, in double-hulled canoes packed with families and food, steering by stars, waves, and clouds. No compass, no map. They reached Hawaii, Easter Island, New Zealand, some trips over 2,500 miles of open water. Walking handled land, boats handled water, but one problem was left: weight. You can walk 20 miles. You can't walk 20 miles carrying a 200-pound animal. So people started dragging loads on hides, then built the travois, 2 poles and a platform, letting one person haul over 100 pounds. Then came the real leap: partnership. About 15,000 years ago, humans teamed up with dogs. In the Arctic, a team of 6 dogs could move an entire camp. Then, 5,500 years ago, on the grasslands of Kazakhstan, people tamed the horse. Wear marks on horse teeth show bits were used to steer them. Suddenly, top speed jumped from 4 miles an hour to 30. In one generation, the world got 8 times smaller. Trade stretched further. Warfare changed forever.
Camels crossed deserts, reindeer pulled sleds, llamas carried loads through the Andes. Every region found its animal. One invention was still missing, and it showed up surprisingly late. Humans crossed all oceans on Earth before anyone invented the wheel. The oldest wheel we've found is only about 5,200 years old, thousands of years before boats and after horses were already tamed. It didn't even start as transportation. It started as a pottery tool. Someone tipped that spinning disc on its side and asked, "What if something rides on top?" Early wheels were heavy and clumsy. Around 2000 BC, the spoked wheel changed that, lighter, faster, strong enough for chariots. Roads followed, the oldest paved one built in the city of Ur around 4000 BC. Wheels, roads, and horses together finally built real transportation, and with it, trade, empires, and armies that could move hundreds of miles at once. So here's the whole story. For 300,000 years, humans had only their legs, and they walked across the entire planet. They hit water and learned to float. They needed to carry more, so they dragged, then built frames, then partnered with animals. They tamed the horse, and the world shrank overnight. They built the wheel, and it shrank again. Now you sit in a metal box doing 70 and call it a commute. You cross an ocean in 6 hours and complain about the Wi-Fi. Your ancestors walked 15,000 miles across land they had no name for, toward places they'd never seen, because stopping meant dying. We solved distance so completely, we forgot it was ever a problem. Every highway, every runway, every railroad track exists because someone 300,000 years ago looked at the horizon and started walking. They didn't know where they were going. They went anyway.